Getting some weird shadows. That one's wild. Now obviously this is the Goodyear Wrangler DuraTrack, and you've all seen this tire by now. All right, well, I'm at 105,000 miles now. Not a big deal, but you know, it's not nothing either. So, you know, I was doing the last video, I was talking about how this truck is still doing great, and I actually really like this truck a lot, and there's nothing really out there as far as new trucks go that make it worth trading this one in. So I've decided just to keep it at least another year and enjoy it and use it, and been kind of playing around with the tuning on it. Got the AMDP tune on here now, which by the way is doing great. I've been driving it for several days on this AMDP tune, and it is just awesome. No check engine lights, no problems. It drives really smooth, idles great, runs great. It's just awesome. But when you get on it, man, does it wake up. Even with this mild tune, this is what they call a level 1 tune. Not a big amount of horsepower at all. But even on this tune, I've noticed that if I dip into the throttle real hard, man, it wakes up. It becomes a beast. I can't imagine what the level 4 and 5 tunes must be like on these things. That must just make the truck a rocket ship, because this thing will pass somebody just like that when you get in the throttle. So I really like it. And like I said, combined with the Ford OE transmission tune, it's the perfect combo in my opinion. Now I do have the AMDP transmission tuning that I can use also. I drove on that for a couple of days. Some people would really like it, because on the AMDP transmission tune, what I noticed was the shifts are very firm. You know, it almost feels like a dual clutch transmission on one of these new sports cars, you know. It's just like bang, 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 you know, as it shifts. And you can actually kind of feel it put you back in the seat a little bit every time it shifts. Now, some guys would really like that. For me, I mean, I didn't hate it. I can see the benefit of it under certain circumstances. But just for daily driving, back and forth to work during the week, I didn't really like it as much. I kind of like the smooth stock program. I guess if you're towing a trailer, it might be pretty good, because, you know, if you're just banging off shifts like that, the torque converter is staying locked as much as possible. Then you're not building up any heat, or at least not as much heat. So I guess that would be a good thing. I can see the benefit of it and why some people would like it, you know, but I really like the Ford stock transmission program overall, combined with the level 1 AMDP tune, has been fantastic. So I'm going to keep driving on this for a while, but man, I tell you, I really love it so far. So today I'm going to do the next thing here, which is going to get some new tires. We're going to start a new tire review today. Something that you probably hadn't expected. Something that I can't believe hasn't been out on social media more than it has for the last year or two. And so let's head to the tire shop, get them installed, and we will talk about it. I think it's going to be an awesome tire for this truck. I expect it to be. But there's one way to find out, and that's to put them on the truck and run them and use them like you guys would use a truck. Let's see how well they do. Here we go. Couple more observations about this AMDP tune. When I look out that mirror over there as I'm going down the road, I don't ever see any smoke. I saw some reports online where guys said that these AMDP tunes are dirty tunes, but I don't ever see any smoke at all. Maybe it's because I'm just on a level 1 tune, I don't know, but I don't see any smoke at all. So it seems like they've got the calibration dialed in awesome. The other thing is, look at the fuel economy, 19.6. Now you guys know, if you've been watching the videos, I was talking about how this truck had been getting about 18, and you know, if I drive around in town a lot more than usual, maybe it'll be down in the 17s. I've been driving this all week long. Here it is Friday, and it's showing 19.6. So it looks like the fuel economy is also better on this particular tune. Don't know exactly why that would be. That may have something to do with going back to the stock transmission tune, honestly. Maybe the stock transmission tune just uses the torque converter more appropriately or something. But you know, it could have something to do with the engine tune also, of course. But you know, anytime you get better fuel economy, that's more money in your pocket, so that's a very welcomed change. I'll take that any day of the week. Headed down the road, just left the tire shop, and so far, very first impressions. Of course, they've got way too much air pressure in here. The shop always puts way too much air pressure in there for liability reasons, so I got to lower the air pressure a little bit. But at 55, which is where I'm at right now, 55 miles an hour, they're pretty smooth here. I'm getting ready to get on the interstate here in a minute because I'm really curious to see how these things are going to roll at 70 miles an hour. If they can roll at 70 and be smooth, then I will be just fine with them. Tire noise. Yes, they make some noise. They're humming already, brand new, and they're humming. Of course, you expect that from a really aggressive all-terrain, but there are some all-terrains that don't really make a lot of noise. These hum. Now, they're not loud at all. I would not call them loud at all, but you can definitely hear a hum. I'm gonna hush here for a moment and just let the camera hopefully record the noise. So again, that's at 55 miles an hour. Let me wait till we get to the interstate. Let me wait till we get to the interstate, and then we will see what they sound like at 70. All right, now I'm out on the interstate. At the moment, I'm at 65, going into a construction zone, so I gotta back it off a little bit here. But let me kind of let you listen to the noise here again. So there again, you can maybe hear a little bit of a hum, but I'm telling you, it's not loud at all. All right, got through the construction zone. Now I'm at 70 miles an hour. And still just, you know, a little bit of hum, not bad. They're rolling pretty smooth. Of course, this road is really rough. They're still working on sections of this road. You can tell here where they've had the pavement kind of jacked up. All right, I finally got through all that work zone and got to some good pavement. So yeah, I mean, these things are rolling pretty smooth. I can feel just a very minor amount of vibration. I mean, most people would not even notice it. You know, I'm kind of OCD, so I notice it, but it's just so minor, and really it doesn't even bother me right now at 70 miles an hour here. I mean, you can see here, maybe if I can get the camera to kind of focus, just how smooth the steering wheel is. I mean, there's no vibration in the steering wheel. Everything is feeling really good. So they roll pretty good, little bit of noise. Will be interesting to see how that changes over time. And I gotta adjust the pressures when I get home because the rough rod is from the excessive amount of air pressure they put in here. When I'm not hauling or towing anything, I usually dial my air pressures back down. It gives better tire wear actually, and it rides better. So I gotta adjust that when I get home. It's showing almost 70 pounds of air pressure going down the highway here right now. So anyhow, so far so good out on the road. We'll see how they do in all conditions. You know the drill. These tires are gonna see a little bit of everything on this truck. So now let me get to the park here and we'll pull over and take a look at them and I'll show you what they are. All right, so what we got here is the Milestar Patagonia AT Pro. This is the flagship all-terrain tire from Milestar. And what surprises me so much about this tire is if you remember several years back, they released the Patagonia MT, and that tire just exploded. It became extremely popular in the off-road world. It was all over social media. You couldn't even open up your phone without seeing some kind of a short or a clip or a video or something about the Patagonia MT. So then Milestar followed that up with this AT Pro, which again is their flagship all-terrain tire. And the thing that's just really surprising to me is that there's not much information about this tire out there on YouTube. I mean, there's maybe one or two little short videos, but I haven't seen anybody really use this tire and put it through its paces and do a long-term review on it. So we're going to fix that because obviously we've got a set of these now on the Super Duty, and these tires are going to see everything: gravel roads, highway, interstate, county roads. This winter we'll have snow, we'll have ice. Right now it's the middle of summer and we've got thunderstorms almost every day. Last night I was driving in torrential rain for a while, the kind where you can barely see in front of the truck. We're going to be doing hauling and towing with them, maybe a little bit of off-road. These tires, as usual, will see everything imaginable, and I will be able to tell you exactly how they're holding up and how they perform. We'll see together how these tires do as the time rolls on here. But first, let's just take a look at them, and I'll show you some of the technology that they built into this tire, and we'll talk a little bit about how they seem to be, you know, the initial impression here, how they seem to be doing. All right, so let's go ahead and get the address the elephant in the room here. So the wheels, if you're wondering, are 18 by 9. They are a 0 offset. So that's the specs on the wheels. The tires are 295/70 R18. Now by the measurements, you put a tape measure on these, they are just a little bit smaller than the 35 1250s that I had on the truck prior to this. Just a little bit smaller. Not much though, and you can see how the 295 fills out the 9-inch wide wheel. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk a little bit about this tire. Made in the USA, which was one of the big reasons that I decided to go with this tire. In fact, I think there's a factory right down the road from me in Tennessee that produces these. So not only is it an American-made tire, it's also a locally produced tire. 2-ply sidewalls, but they're supposed to be a really rugged 2-ply sidewall. If you remember, some of the most popular tires that we've seen in recent years had 2-ply sidewalls. Falcon Wild Peak AT3W, 2-ply sidewall. Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack, 2-ply sidewall. So the fact that it doesn't have a 3-ply sidewall is not a deal breaker here. You know, you can build a tire with a 2-ply sidewall if you use the proper materials and technology, and it will be just as rugged. And the benefit is it shaves a lot of weight off of this tire. So that's another key point here. This particular tire listed at 52 pounds. Now, if you think about that, all of the other tires in this segment, and I looked at them, I looked at all the specs, the Goodyears, the BF Goodrich, Yokohama, you know, all of the other brands out there in the same size, they ranged from 67 to about 72 pounds, you know, somewhere around that 70 pound, you know, point. And the Falcon AT4s that I just took off the truck, they were 71 pounds. So right in there also. This tire is listed at 51 pounds on the Milestar website. I've seen it listed about 52 pounds other places. So you figure it's about 20 pounds per tire lighter, despite the fact that it's still a 10-ply tire, load range E. The load rating is 129, which is actually overkill for this Super Duty. The truck is stamped 125, so I got more capacity than I need, and I'm still saving 20 pounds per tire. I mean, that's just pretty outstanding there. And the price was very reasonable on these. They're about $75 per tire less than some of those other name brands. So those are the big selling points. And again, I just don't see much out there on the YouTube about these tires. So we're going to fix that. Now, initial impressions. First of all, and I expected this, you can see that these things are really bad about picking up rocks. Look at this. There's one, rocks everywhere. Okay, so if you live on a gravel road or you drive gravel roads daily, these things are going to pick up a lot of rocks. And I expected that. And the reason I expected it is because look at the tread design. You've got a lot of biting edges here. A lot of voids that these things can pick up rocks in, you know. Even though it's got some of these mud-phobic bars, stone ejector bars, whatever you want to call them in there, you're still going to pick up a lot of rocks just because of how the tread is designed and the fact that you just have that perfect amount of void between the blocks to pick up stones. So that's the first thing that I noticed. Now, you just saw those clips where I was out on the highway and they rolled really smooth out on the highway. Funny thing about it is, when I was coming through town, you know, in the 25 and 35 mile an hour zones, they actually had a little bit more roughness in them there than they did out on the highway. And some of that could be, you know, the way that the tire shop technician balanced them. But I just thought that was interesting. You can actually feel a little bit more vibration at lower speeds, like below 45 miles an hour, than you can above 45 miles an hour. Out on the highway, they were fine. Out on the interstate, they were fine. But coming through town, I actually felt some roughness. Out here on my little county road, I actually felt some roughness in them. So, you know, I'll probably go back, you know, when it's time to rotate them and just have them check the balance on them again. It can't hurt to do that. But, hey, let's take a look at some of the technology that Milestar has built into this tire. So, first of all, you see that this tire has a lot of siping in it. All of these tread blocks have a lot of siping. So in theory, that should increase the rain and snow traction pretty substantially on this tire. And this tire does carry the 3-peak mountain snowflake symbol on it, so it will be a good tire for winter time. We're going to test that to be sure, but it's at least rated to be a good tire for winter use. But yeah, you see a lot of siping there, so rain traction, snow traction should be pretty awesome. It does have a 55,000 mile warranty on it. Okay, so that's pretty nice also to get a good mileage warranty on an aggressive tire like this. A lot of the tires that I was shopping did not have any mileage warranty. So 55,000 miles is the mileage warranty on this one. If you look closely, you can see that they have these little step down features here. I call a staircase on these tread blocks. And even the center tread blocks have that little staircase in them. And what that does is it stabilizes the tread block and prevents it from being real squirmy, and just helps it to have more strength, basically. So your handling, it should improve handling, is the idea there. And it promotes decent wear because it keeps the tread block stable. So, you know, it's not going to wear fast that way. So that's the theory behind the little staircase, the step down design there in the tread blocks. Time will tell if that actually does what it says it's going to do. But you see this on a lot of tires. It's not exclusive to Milestar. A lot of brands use that feature. In between these outer tread blocks, you have these stone ejector bars, mud ejector bars, whatever you want to call them. The idea there is to prevent suction from holding the mud or the rocks or whatever in there. But as you can see, they don't do a very good job of keeping the rocks out of there. So we'll see if they do a better job of keeping mud and snow out of there. What else do we have here? Now, if you remember the BF Goodrich K03 video that I did, we talked about this extensively in that video. When you design an all-terrain tire, or really any tire, what you want is these circumferential grooves. See how there's a channel that goes up and down here, and there's one over here also. See that? You can follow a path all the way down through there, right? And then on the outer tread blocks, you've also got a direct path out of the tire. See that? And so the reason you want that is because imagine as this tire is rolling over a road that's covered in rain, right? You got puddles on the road, it's raining really hard. You want the water to be able to evacuate horizontally as fast as possible. You don't want the water getting trapped in the tread block design, because then it's going to put vertical force on the tire and try to lift the tire upward, which is how you end up hydroplaning. With a design like this, which is exactly what you want, there's a groove here and there are grooves here, so the water can evacuate horizontally very quickly. This is exactly what you want to see in an all-terrain tire. And so I suspect that this tire will be really well suited for rainy conditions. And like I said, snowy conditions, you know, a lot of the time, you don't really have deep snow out on the road. You end up with like slush or maybe a light layer of snow. And so that also will be able to evacuate the tire quickly. So I like to see that. These two big circumferential grooves all the way around the tire. And then on the outside, those open channels there. I really like to see that. So that's a great design that they put in this tire as well. What else do you have here? A pretty aggressive looking sidewall with these chunky looking biters that come over the side there. Both sidewalls are the same, by the way. So yeah, I mean, they've put a lot of good technology into the tire. The real question is going to be the rubber compound. Of course, they've got a 55,000 mile warranty, but still, the rubber compound is going to be interesting to keep an eye on. I want to see how this is going to wear, you know, especially on a heavy diesel truck like this. We're going to really find out how these tires are going to wear, because on a truck like this, if they're going to wear down quickly, you're going to see it on this truck. But again, time will tell. There's a closer look at the sidewall. So like I said, you've got some aggressive sidewall design here, and kind of wraps around the shoulder of the tire to give it a little bit of protection. There's the mountain snowflake symbol down there. You can see they're rated for snow use. Where was it? Right here. You can see that they're made in the good old U.S.A. I mean, it's a pretty good looking tire. Got some nice technology built into it. I know that Milestar is not a name that you really hear a whole lot of, you know, aside from the MT that, again, was just a really popular tire. But this Miltech compound here, or Miltech technology, kind of a proprietary thing that Milestar does. And I guess that's the way that they keep the weight down on this tire. They make a robust, heavy-duty tire that's a long-lasting tire, but they can also keep the weight down on it by not adding so many layers of material. And I guess that's what the Miltech sidewall is all about. So, you know, when I was shopping around trying to decide which tire I was going to review next, I looked at some commercial tires, which are sort of the hybrid category of tires between all-terrain and mud-terrain. You know, tires like the new Yokohama AT-XD or the BF Goodrich HD KT, you know, tires like that that are kind of designed to be a commercial use tire. I looked at several of those, but ultimately I decided to try these Patagonia AT Pros for the reasons I've already mentioned, you know, being made in America, not much info out there about them. It's an all-terrain, so in theory, it should perform a little bit better for a truck that sees mostly, you know, duty on the road instead of off the road. So anyway, long story short, I just decided to try these out, and you and I will see together how they hold up over time as we go through the summer, into the fall, into the winter time. We'll put them through their paces, and I will be totally unbiased because I bought these out of my own pocket. So I have no reason to lie to you. I'll tell you exactly what I think about them. If Milestar has a great premium all-terrain tire here, the AT Pro, on their hands, I'll let you know. And if any problems arise with these tires, I'll let you know. So there's a first look at the Milestar Patagonia AT Pro. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will be bringing you some updates on these tires every so often to let you know what my experience is with them. All right, well, that's all I got for now, guys. I appreciate you watching. We'll talk to you later.